Hi, my name is Jesse, and I'm the program manager for Coast Watch, the volunteer and education program of Oregon Shores. Coast Watch is a mile-by-mile shoreline adoption program. Your school has adopted a beach to observe and report on throughout the year, and some of you have already filled out our observation sheet while walking on and learning about your beach. Coast Watch works with schools along the entire Oregon coast to educate about all kinds of issues on our shore. Sometimes we meet on the beach, and sometimes at your school. This week, I am here with artist Elizabeth Roberts, and together we are illustrating what the relationship is between the highest tides of the year, marine debris, and the western snowy plover. I've put together a film for you made of some little films and photographs that will get into the heart of the matter. This is the story of snowy plovers, tides, and marine debris. The snowy plover is a little shorebird along Oregon's coast. It is here year-round and lives on sandy beaches and dunes, where it also breeds and lays its eggs above the high tide line from May to September, right in the sand. They eat baby mole crabs, brine fly larvae, beetles, flies, snails, clams, and sandworms, tube worms, and clamworms. The snowy plover's superpower is to be unseeable or invisible. The plovers blend in, and so do their eggs, which they lay 3 at a time. Their eggs can be so camouflaged that someone could easily walk on them or set up chairs and start a volleyball game nearby, upsetting the parents and interfering with the incubation. It's important that we know how to spot plovers and their eggs so that we can help their numbers grow. Snowy plover mothers incubate the nest during the day, and the fathers incubate at night. When the chicks hatch, the mother goes to find another mate, and the father tends to the flock until they fledge, which is about 28 days. To distract predators, they perform a broken wing display. Snowy plovers are a species of concern because their numbers are so low. The reasons for their low numbers are many, from natural predators like crows to being chased by dogs to encroachment on their habitat by certain beach grasses. For this reason, special care is taken when a nest is found. If you ever see a nest that doesn't have a rope around it, please contact a park ranger and let them know. In many areas where snowy plovers nest, marine debris is almost as common, if not more so, than the plovers themselves. For this reason, Elizabeth and I set out to clean some of the beaches where there are known snowy plovers with our friends at U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. We set out in February after some of the highest tides of the year, also known as king tides. King tides bring in more marine debris to our beaches in the lower tides of summer. Rivers flood, bringing more and more with them as they flow to the ocean. The power of these extra large waves on the sand scour the beaches, releasing marine debris buried in the sand. Winter is the best time of year to clean the beaches at a safe low tide on a relatively dry and windless day. Our story starts here at 10 Mile Creek in February. At the 10 Mile Creek estuary lay a beach and a dune. The winter tides and wind kick up marine debris on the dune between the backwater and the ocean. This is the debris behind the dune on the river and the backwater side. We found everything from baby play mats to toothbrushes. Next is a photo of 3 items. Can you tell what's natural and what's plastic? It can be so hard when you're cleaning a beach. You have to pay attention to the little things. Can you tell what's plastic here? The top is a shell, the middle is bone, and the bottom is a shotgun wad. Shotgun wads are very common. Here we have some bird tracks next to a candy wrapper, and if you look close, a tiny piece of microplastic. In February, over 3 days, when these photos were taken, myself and about 28 volunteers and Elizabeth went to the Oregon National Dunes Recreation Area with staff from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and picked up as much marine debris as we could in some western snowy plover areas. We used found rope to float this styrofoam down the backwater to the waiting truck. It was too heavy to carry. Here is artist Elizabeth Roberts walking through an area full of trash from the river to the sea. Here are 2 volunteers at the top of the dunes just after digging out a piece of styrofoam. We found so much foam. Here's a video of everything we found on our first day. We filled 2 pickup trucks with what we found. So where does this all come from? Next are 3 short videos from our partners at NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And plastic a little bit more.
All of us here at Ocean Today love the ocean. And when you love something, you want to protect it. Today, unfortunately, the ocean is being filled with trash. And people all over the world who care about the health of the ocean are doing something about it. They're talking trash and taking action. So, what is marine debris? Where does it come from? What can we do about it? We want to talk to you about how you can prevent some of the surprising and sneaky ways that trash flows into our rivers and the ocean. Come learn about marine debris and be part of the action. Let's get started. Have you ever been to the beach and noticed litter like plastic bottles or foam takeout containers on the sand? Or maybe you've been to a river or bay where there's a bag or a car tire stuck in the mud on the shore, or a bunch of deflated balloons that say happy birthday floating in the water. All of that junk in the water or on the shoreline is considered marine debris. It's anything solid and man-made in the ocean or Great Lakes that is not supposed to be there. And anything people use every day can become marine debris if they don't dispose of it properly. And I mean anything. The most common items we find when we do shoreline cleanups are plastics, but we also find rubber, cloth, glass, metal, and paper litter. Sometimes the debris is so tiny, like a plastic microbead from your face wash, that you can barely see it in the water. Marine debris is more than just trash in the ocean. Sometimes fishers lose their gear like fishing traps, nets, or fishing line, and it continues to drift through the water, catching animals for a long time. We call that derelict fishing gear, and it's marine debris. Have you ever seen an old boat left behind on a shoreline? Abandoned and derelict vessels are also marine debris. So let's review. Anything we use every day can become marine debris if we don't dispose of it properly or if it goes into the water by accident. Marine debris can be very small or can be very big, and anything in between. But most importantly, marine debris is one of the biggest pollution problems facing the world's oceans and waterways today.
Where does marine debris come from? Marine debris comes from many different sources and enters the ocean in many ways. Intentional littering and dumping are a big cause of marine debris. Sometimes the trash goes directly into the ocean, like when beachgoers don't pick up after themselves. Or sometimes marine debris is indirectly generated in a city hundreds of miles from the ocean. When someone litters on the street or parking lot, rainwater can move the trash into storm drains that empty into streams, rivers, and other bodies of water. Or the wind can blow it there. Those rivers and streams can eventually carry the trash to the ocean. Improper or careless waste disposal is another big cause. Have you ever seen an overflowing trash can, but for some reason, people keep putting trash there? Hello, marine debris. Or when someone throws a piece of plastic in the trash when it should have been recycled. Around the world, many people don't have access to proper waste disposal or recycling, but the trash keeps piling up and it has to go somewhere. It's not just here on land. Marine debris comes from activities out on the water too. People on boats sometimes throw their trash overboard, and that's against the law. Or trash can accidentally fall, blow, or wash off vessels into the water. Sometimes fishers lose their fishing gear thanks to storms or passing vessels. Once debris gets to the ocean, it's very difficult to trace the exact source. The bottom line is, marine debris comes from us. Humans are the source, and every single person has the power and the responsibility to prevent it. How does marine debris impact the ocean, animals, and me? Would you want to swim in a beach littered with trash? Of course not. And the animals who live in the ocean don't either. The difference is, they don't have a choice. Marine species often get tangled in debris, from fishing nets to six-pack rings. If they get caught, they could get injured. or even died. And even if they don't get entangled, many animals mistake plastic debris for food and eat it. This fills their stomach with junk they can't digest. Debris can also damage important habitats, like coral reefs, by breaking or smothering them. Corals serve as the base of the marine ecosystem, and impacts here can be felt all the way to you and me. Plus, plastics have harmful chemicals in them. Fish eat plastic, we eat fish. The question is, can those chemicals harm us? Marine debris also hurts the economy. It costs a lot of money to clean up, and people don't want to go to dirty beaches. Boats and ships could run into large pieces of debris too, or get their propellers tangled. We need the ocean and everything in it, and the ocean needs us to keep it free of debris.
So lastly, I have an outtake from a webinar I did with Elizabeth for Coast Watch volunteers in 2020. Elizabeth is working with Riley Creek and Kalmiopsis Elementary this week to create the snowy plover panels you are covering with different colors of plastic. So enjoy the rest of this film, and thanks for being a part of this Art and Ecology Week with us.
So after that expedition, I got hired on with Wash Ashore and got to help build some sculptures. And one of my first projects as an artist working for them was to refurbish Priscilla the parrotfish, which was a lot of fun. I really had a great time working on this sculpture. And we were getting her ready for our exhibit at the Smithsonian National Zoo in 2016, which was really exciting. This was my first time visiting Washington, D.C. And there she is on opening day. And it was really fun to sit on the sidelines and listen to people's reactions to the artwork. Because at first they would be like, wow, this is so cool. And they'd look at the artwork and realize that it all came from the ocean. And just to hear their expressions of that was really fascinating.
And can I ask a question about the washed ashore sculptures? I understand that all of this trash comes from the South Oregon coast. Is that?
Yeah, it's most of the mid coast as well. I know they have gotten debris up in Newport as well in those areas.
Okay. But it all comes from Oregon.
It's all Oregon trash. Yes. Yeah, so these are some of the sculptures that were on exhibit at the National Zoo. It was really exciting. And this is myself and Angela, who is the founder and director and lead artist at the Wash Ashore Project. And we were using all this styrofoam to build a bleached coral reef. And we actually built it in the building where they do their coral studies. So it was really kind of neat because we're looking at real coral in tanks, like right across from where we're building this thing. This was a sculpture that I got to work on that was sponsored by Norwex, a company that does a lot of non-toxic, all-natural type of cleanings, household products. We got to do an installation for the Our Oceans Conference back in Washington, D.C. at the State Department. So that was really cool. Here's some of the pieces that we installed for the conference. This was a whalebone sculpture, and there's Priscilla. It was really cool because I was flipping through Instagram photos and I came across that and I was like, yes. I thought that was really cool to see Leo taking a selfie in front of Priscilla. So this is some of the piecework that volunteers can do at Wash Ashore in their workshop here in Bandon. And this is like building a sculpture. You have a framework, and we kind of put a plastic skin on it, and you can kind of see what I'm getting an idea of what I'm building here. Working on some paws. So this was for a polar bear sculpture that we built, which was really fun. It was pretty big too. It's one of the larger ones I've helped build. And this is at the gallery here in Bandon, the Wash Ashore Gallery. And this is a weedy sea dragon that I helped build the base for that. And this was something that Angela built in memory of someone that really inspired her, who I think was really into sea dragons. And it was a great white shark. And this is one of the last sculptures I worked on for them. And after that, I got invited back to Kodiak to do an artist in residency in the school district there. I'd done a lot of artists in schools work while I was living there. So it was really great to be invited back by the Kodiak Arts Council and the Kodiak Island Borough School District to work with students using marine debris. And we had talked about building a mural, and I was like, okay, we need little pieces, small pieces of plastic. Unfortunately, in April, things are still kind of frozen there. And so they had a hard time digging through all of the marine debris bags out in the storage yard. So things were frozen. So when I got there, this is what they had for me. So if you've ever seen that show Chopped, where they have the chefs, they get the mystery ingredients and they have to make something really cool out of it. I felt like a chef on Chopped. So yeah, so luckily I was able to work in the maintenance building and break some of those things down into much smaller pieces. But I wasn't able to build a mural with the students. We kind of had to scramble and come up with another plan. But she was kind of disappointed, the principal, because they really wanted a mural. So I ended up building one for them anyways. But it was really cool. We took over the library and the kids got to use power tools, which they were pretty excited about. So we did a lot of drilling. A friend of mine welded some framework for some jellyfish sculptures that we were going to work on. And so kids would come in and string some of the plastic pieces. They would color sort. Some of the older kids would wire bottle bottoms together. And collaboratively, we made these several jellyfish sculptures that were going to be on permanent display in the school library. So that was really fun. And here's like one of the last classes that I worked on with. And that was like the mural that I kind of put together for him before I left, which is on permanent display in the school. And then while I was there, I did a 3-day teacher training workshop and kind of worked with educators and kind of taught them some of my techniques and different ways of looking at marine debris as an art medium and giving them different ideas on how they can incorporate that into their curriculum. So here's some of their finished projects. So I got invited to Norway. I have a friend that lives there and she's part of an artist collaborative. And she had reached out to me because they had a really rare Cuvier beaked whale that swam into one of their harbors. And folks tried to turn it around and get it to swim back out, but it kept coming in and it was really sick. And so as a last resort, they ended up euthanizing the whale. And when they did the necropsy, they discovered that its stomach was full of plastic. And it sparked a national conversation about plastic pollution. And so she wanted to work with me and build a sculpture that they could have travel throughout Norway. And so this is my friend Jana on the left, and Martha, who was going to be welding the framework. And this is the gentleman here. I cannot remember his name. I'm sorry. But he let us use his building, and it's a beautiful space to work in. As you can see, it had a lot of light, but it's actually kind of a museum of sorts because they refurbish antique boat engines. So we had access to a lot of tools and things. And so they had done some beach cleanups prior to me arriving, and we kind of sorted and washed things. And there was Martha working on the framework. And so we decided to build a Norwegian wrasse, which is a cleaner fish. So they're the types of fish that will eat parasites off of other fish. And I didn't know it at the time that when we chose this fish, that they're actually becoming quite rare outside of marine protected areas, because fishermen are live harvesting them and selling them to salmon farms to eat the sea lice off the salmon. And I find that kind of concerning because they play such a vital role in the ecosystem. And so there's less of them available because of, I think, overfishing them for the commercial salmon market. So here we are working on fins and starting to put the first layers on. And you can kind of see it coming together. This was a really fun project. Here it is finished. So I spent about a month over there, which was great. I got to visit my friend Yana and actually see her house and where she lives, because we actually met here in the States doing artist workshops up in Washington over the years. So this is a quick little video of them unveiling it at their culture house, and they had all the school kids there to see it. And so we got to screen the film A Plastic Ocean while I was there, which was really great. Oops. And this is in the city of Bergen at one of the museums there. So it's kind of traveling around the country, right, and being exhibited in different locations. This is back in Coos Bay on the North Spit, and found this old chair. I sat on one of these chairs in grade school, so I recognized it right away. And I thought, man, this could become something really cool. And it did. I partnered up with a friend of mine, Ron Popish, who lives up near Newport. If you've been to any of the wildlife refuges here on the coast, you may have seen his artwork on the interpretive panels. I had stopped by his house one day and noticed he had this wooden cutout of a fish in his garage and a very sad pile of garbage on his garage floor. And I was like, hey, Ron, what are you doing with that? And he's like, oh, I got to build this fish. And I was like, oh, well, let me know if you want some help. And he was like, yes, please. So he brought it to my studio, and we together built this striped bass for the Norrie Point Environmental Center in Staatsburg, New York. They're the sort of equivalent of our South Slough. They're the Hudson River Estuarine Research Center. So this was really fun. We had a great time working together. I hope I can collaborate again with him in the future, because we had a lot of fun goofing off. So this is, I'm going to share some of my process. So you can see these items here. Those are actually the brim of baseball caps. So I find a lot of these surprisingly, and I think most of them come from container spills. These were some rice paddles, probably from the 2011 tsunami out of Japan. I have parts of shoes that I'm working with. There's a bottom of, I think, a bleach bottle. Pieces of foam that are kind of soft and flexible. And I'm building the lower jaw of the fish. So you can kind of see the bottom of the jaw. And then you can see it kind of coming together, the top of the jaw. And I've got pieces of hard hat. Gosh, there's so much stuff in here. Some of it's just unrecognizable. I don't know what it came from, buckets or totes. But here's the finished sculpture. And it's on display at the Norrie Point Environmental Center. Originally, they had asked Ron if he could do an interpretive panel, and he recommended building an actual sculptural piece for education. So we try to include all the different bits and pieces. This is a commission piece that I made for the owners of Seven Devils Brewing here in Coos Bay. Annie Pollard, one of the owners, she actually studied Adelie penguins in Antarctica. So when her husband wanted to commission me to make her something, I was like, I know what to make. And so I built this penguin sculpture for her. So that's Annie right there. And that was a lot of fun to build.